Hi guys, today's video is going to be about decision structures like if else, and also the nested decision statements. Let's get to it. Okay, so I just have a normal GUI here. I have an input text box, an output label, and then a go button. If we click on the go button, I first want to show you some if statements. So what is an if statement? Well, an if statement determines in your code whether or not it should execute a piece of code. So you give it a condition, and if that condition is valid, it will execute the code that you tell it to execute. But if it's not valid, it won't execute that code. Okay, so it's a very handy structure. You will use it a lot of times in your code, so you might as well get used to it right now. So let's see how a basic if statement looks. First of all, let's get some input. I want my input to come from my input text box, so it's going to be an int, and let's say I want an age. And of course I need to int.parse this, txt input.text. And now I want to check if the age is above 18. If it is, display a message for me. So simply type if age is above 18. This is a logical operator. We will talk later about that more. If it is above 18, go to the label and tell me that it is a valid age. Okay, so let's quickly test it. So what I've done, I've told my program, go and get the age from the input text box and pass it to an int, and then check whether the age, which I've just fetched, is greater than 18. If this statement, this condition is true, go to the label output.text and change the text to valid age. Okay, let's start. Let's type in 5. Okay, my text has not changed. Let's type in 10. It's not changed. Okay, but let's type in 20. There we go, that's a valid age. Okay, so 5 and 10 did not work, but 20 did because it is greater than 18. Okay, but let's type in 18. See? Okay, now I don't know whether or not 18 is a valid age or not, because I don't know what to do if this statement is not valid, if it is false. So you can do that with an if else. So if the age is above 18, print a valid age. Else, if that statement is not true, change the label output.text to invalid age. So very simple, check whether this age is above 18. If it's not, execute this piece of code and then go on with the rest of your program. So you can have code here. It's going to execute chronologically, and when it comes to the if statement, it's going to test the age, whether it's bigger than 18. If it is, it's going to change to valid age. If it's not, it's going to change to invalid age, and after that it's going to execute the rest of your code. Now let's test this quickly again. I want to show you something. I've typed in 20, it says it's valid, but now when I type in 18, it says it's invalid, but I said greater than 18. Okay, so it's completely correct. You need to do, if you want it also equal to 18, you just need to put the equal sign next to your greater sign, but we will get to your logical operators in another video. This is just quickly to show you some if statements, and we're going to get, you see, so 18 is now valid because I've turned it to greater or equal than 18. Okay, now what about nested if statements? What about if I want an if statement inside of an if statement inside of an if statement? No problem. Let's say if the age is in fact greater or equal than 18, I want to test whether that age, is just an example, can be modulated by 2. Okay, if you remember in my previous videos, I talked about the mod operator. A mod operator, if you can mod with another value, and that result of the modulation calculation is 0, it is divisible without a remainder in that calculation. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to test if the age is greater or equal than 18. Test for me before I make it valid. Test if the age modulated by 2 is equal to 0. and only then change the value of the label output to valid age. So once again, age mod 2 is going to give me 0, because if the age is 18, 18 is divisible by 2, and the remainder will be 0. If I type in 19, the remainder will be 1, so it's not equal to 0 then, so it can't be a valid age. What do I need to do then? Well, if it's not a valid age, I simply go to else, and I say the label output dot text is a not valid, well, let's keep it invalid mod. Okay, so you will see the different outputs now. Okay, so let's go over it one more time. If my age is greater or equal than 18, go on to there. Okay, now, okay, so it is greater or equal than 18. Now, is my age mod 2 equal to 0? If it is, then it is valid. If it's not, it's an invalid mod. But if my age is not greater or equal than 18, so it's smaller than 18, then it's not going to execute any of this. It's going to go straight to my first else statement, and then it's going to say it's an invalid age. Let's test it. So let's make my input 20. It's a valid age. Okay, so it passed the first if statement because it is greater or equal than 18, and now it tests if my age 20 mod 2 is equal to 0. 20 is divisible by 2 and the remainder is 0, so it is a valid age. If I make it 19, which is not, which the remainder of mod 2 will not be 0, it will be 1, it's an invalid mod. So it passed the first if statement, it passed the first test, but the second if statement it said, well, it's not equal to 0, so let's print invalid mod, which it did. Okay, but now if I type in age smaller than 18, it's going to jump to this statement, invalid age. Okay, so that's nested if statements for you. I think I'm quickly going to show you how a switch or a case works. So a switch or case is generally you're working with integer data types, because what is logical, what comes after 1, 2, what comes after 3, 4, but what comes after 0.011? Nobody knows. Okay, it's infinite numbers. So what you can do is you can say int day, and let's make it equal, just going to copy and paste it from here, and now I want a switch statement. So you start by saying switch and then day and then curly brackets. So now you have cases. So your first case is how many days are there? There are 7 days starting at 1 through 7. So if I say case 1, and then I say my label outputs text needs to be, I'm just going to quickly type this to spare some time. I'm going to explain this now. Okay, so you have a day. So maybe we entered 1 as in the text box, and now it says switch this variable. Okay, it's going to iterate through the cases depending on this variable. So now case 1, this number over here, if it corresponds to the number inside of the day variable, it's going to execute this line. So what's the first day? It's going to be Monday, and then it's going to break. Now what this break does, it breaks out of this case block and goes to the rest of your code outside of the switch brackets. Okay, it will come, you will see now if I make another case, case 2, and just copy and paste and save some time, Tuesday. Okay, so if the day does not equal 1, go on to the next case. If the case equals 2, is day 2, it should print Tuesday. It will only go into this indented block, into this case block, if this value matches the variable here at the top switch. And when it goes into this case block, it will execute all the lines above the break. You can have many lines here of code you need to execute, but when you're done with all that lines, it needs to have a break statement to know it's done with this case. I need to break out of my case and switch block. So when it reaches the break block, it's going to switch out of it and go on to the rest of your code. Okay, so what other cases do we have? Well, we have case 3. If it equals 3, it needs to be Wednesday. If it is case 4, Thursday. If it is case 5, Friday. Case 6, Saturday. And if it is case 7, it will be Sunday. Okay. One more thing with a switch statement is after all your cases, you need to always have a default case. Okay. So default is exactly what it says. If the variable does not match any of these cases, it will go to your default statement and print not a valid day. Okay, so when it doesn't matches any of these cases, it will print not valid. So let's test it quickly. I just need to comment out these. Okay. So what is 2? Tuesday. What is 5? Friday. What is 0? Remember, there's no 0 in my switch statement, so it's going to go not a valid day. So that's all I wanted to show you in this video. So we did nested ifs, normal ifs, and switches with the cases. Okay, next video, let's get to it.